going to get into the Federal Aviation Regulations. We'll start at the very top here, which is going to be Subpart A. And this is just our general information. So what we're looking at in, excuse me, in this section is going to be the definition. So we need to define some terms for you. And then we'll also kind of get into the accident reporting should something accidentally happen. It's pretty short, and then we'll actually start moving into the certification in terms of what do you need to do to become a pilot, and more specifically, what tests do you need to take, etc. All right, so moving forward, here are some definitions that we need to know. The first one is going to be a small unmanned, or I'm sorry, an unmanned aircraft. I don't know how the word small got in there, but an unmanned aircraft. So a unmanned aircraft is something, or a small unmanned aircraft is going to be weighing less than 55 pounds. It includes everything on board or otherwise attached to the aircraft. That does include any camera systems, gimbals, anything that you'd end up attaching above and beyond what the manufacturer has basically called for. The reason why we say it's a small, an SUAV, if you want to call it that, is because it does have a weight of less than 55 pounds. An unmanned aircraft overall will be any weight, so just keep that in mind. The SUAS is the Small Unmanned Aircraft Systems, which is a small SUA, and it's basically includes its associated systems itself. So that does include any type of communications or any other components that actually control the device. Then we have unmanned aircraft, which is a UA, and that's an aircraft operated without the possibility of direct human intervention from, with, or on the aircraft. We'll start talking about these declaration of compliance. This is actually a new term that we're talking about right here. And this is a record that's submitted to the FAA that certifies the small unmanned aircraft conforms to Category 2 or Category 3 requirements of this subpart. So remember, Subpart D is going to be, everything was kind of moved around as of this year. So this is dealing directly with flying over people. And we now have different categories of drones. We have categories 1 through 4, and it's basically going to have you basically self-certify that it conforms to either, in this case, Category 2 or Category 3, which is known as a declaration of compliance. Once again, we'll get into more of the declaration of compliance. What is the difference between a Category 2 and a Category 3? As that really only pertains to those drones specifically in that section for Subpart D. All right, then we've got you, who's the remote pilot in command. And this is a person who actually holds a remote pilot certificate with the SUAS rating. And it's your responsibility and job, and what we like to say is the final authority and responsibility for the operation and safety of the SUAS under Part 107 regulations. Okay, so it's your job to make sure that everything goes right. You've done your pre-flight, you've checked the weather, you have everything you need, and you have a game plan of whatever action that you're going to be taking for whatever the mission is or your objective at the end of the day. You also have the potential to use another human being. We call these a visual observer, or VO. And they will basically act like a flight crew member. And they're going to assist you with the small UA remote PIC and the person manipulating the controls to see and avoid other air traffic or objects aloft or on the ground. They are kind of an extension of your sight line, and you will be able to communicate that with them in some manner, preferably radio or something that is easy to use. And that's what a VO is. We'll talk a little bit more about VOs moving forward. All right, the not fun stuff before we get into the actual day-to-day regulations, it falls under this section as well. So accident reporting, inevitably, things occur, batteries die, and this is still a relatively new industry. We don't exactly know what the life expectancy of some of these batteries or parts are at this point. So, if a battery ends up dying mid-flight without warning, or a part just fails and it ends up causing some damage, we have to report that to the FAA within a certain time frame, depending on the extent of either the injuries or the damage to the property. So your job as remote pilot in command is actually to make a report within 10 calendar days to the FAA if any one of the following happen. Number 1 is going to be serious injury to any person or loss of consciousness. Or number 2 is damage to any property other than the SUAS unless one of the following conditions is satisfied. So the cost of repair does not exceed $500, or the fair market value of property does not exceed $500 in the event of a total loss. Okay. If you're unsure, it would be, if you're right on the edge of $500, it would be wise, and I would encourage you just to self-report to the FAA and let them know, have them make the determination of, is it considered a accident or not. Okay, so just remember, the main thing is serious injury to persons and loss of consciousness, and then also damage to property. And the magic number that we're really looking for is $500 of repair, or less than $500 fair market value. So if it exceeds these values, meaning it's greater than $500, then you're going to have to report it to the FAA within 10 calendar days. All right, let's go ahead and look at 2 FAA test questions before we move on to the next subpart here. I'll go ahead and open it up in the poll. Remember, if you're on our website, please answer in the poll. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, please write it down on a piece of paper.